above sea level at Intergalactic Prairie Studios. We alter your locus coeruleus by warming your synapses with rejuvenative radio waves. This warms your brain to a tasty and toasty 365 degrees Fahrenheit to keep a sin flood of statism out of your head. Can you feel it? Is it working, Steve Miller?
It is working so well, James Babb.
All right. Freedom Feens is covered by a BitCot no government license. This allows reuse by anyone except governments. Learn more at bitcot.org. All right. Welcome, Steve Miller. Great to be with you, sir.
Indeed, a new week dawns upon freedom.
What an exciting, interesting time to be alive.
It's great. That's a Chinese curse. But you live in interesting times.
Yeah.
And here we are,
exactly.
A cursed people.
And would you have it any other way?
No, starting a new week out, living under a curse. The curse of having interesting things to pay attention to. But we get to see reactions in real time, I guess. And this is something that people didn't used to have up until, a little while ago.
Well, I guess it's just the pace has increased, but they were probably doing memes like 200 years ago on the printing press, right?
Well, I bet you they're probably carved into certain caves if you go to certain parts of Egypt and maybe Mexico. Look into hieroglyphics.
Right. People like Thomas Paine. Those guys were like some of the founding memists, right?
Well, people used to be named after their jobs, and if you're an internet troll, your last name is going to be Paine back in those days. Butthurt was not seen as an upstanding name. So
right, it would be inappropriate to use that word amongst.
Yeah, if you were German, maybe it would be rectal pain. I don't know. That's a form of butthurt.
Speaking of memes, since I am with what I consider to be a meme champion.
Speaking of memes is also in the running for a new segment title here on Freedom Feeds with Uncle Jim and Crazy Cousin Steve.
I think there could be a whole daily show devoted to memes, because to me it is the future of not just politics but warfare. This is everything that we're seeing the infancy of the meme wars. It's beginning, and
hit him first and hit him with good guy Greg.
Wow. So, I've always hypothesized, in fact, that, Steve, I consider you to be somewhat of a meme expert, somebody I go to for help with memes. If I don't understand a meme, if it's too complicated or new style I'm not familiar with, or, what the protocols are. I've often thought that perhaps you could offer your services as sort of a consultant, like with a tactical meme consulting business, right?
So it's very rare that I volunteer to do things for the government, but when Cory Booker, the senator from New Jersey, who is a homosexual, but that's neither here nor there, when he was testifying before the Senate, he had a binder with him, and the binder was full of memes that ISIS had, and ISIS was apparently recruiting people to be.
Yeah, you don't think ISIS knows about the meme war? ISIS is in the meme war. Okay,
they're in the meme.
You're going to beat ISIS. You better have some good tactical memes, some counter insurgency memes, some next level memeage.
I wrote them a letter, an actual honest to God pen to paper letter
to ISIS.
To the just as bad the U.S. government. And
okay.
I said, listen, you and I have never really got along very well, but compared to ISIS, you're pretty bad. And you have the NSA, so you've seen every meme I've ever made, and every meme I've started to make and then failed to make.
Right.
So what did they say? They didn't respond.
Well, I think
It probably got lost by the Postal Service. That would be the ultimate.
What we should do is we should go in through one of the generals, okay, with the Pentagon connections, and say, look, this is, well, what do you guys have in your tactical meme arsenal right now? What?
Yeah, I have an arsenal.
And just let him and talk to these generals and ask them what are your meme defenses like?
Yeah,
how do you respond to a super dank meme, across your bow? Are they ready? This is they always say the military's always fighting the last war. Okay, so I think you could go to them and say, look, what'd your last war cost you? $1 trillion. Okay, I'm only $100 billion. Okay.
Yeah.
So drop. You know what? Okay, a cool billion. Drop a cool billion on us. You give them unlimited memes, and then we just have fun with that $1 billion. Is
Yeah.
that would anyone hold that against you?
No, nobody would.
And
that,
your
we could
memes
award
are so
people contracts.
right. And you remember your memes will be so dank that there's actually like double entendres like embedded in the memes. So it's like like a meme within the meme, like a troll inside the troll.
You know about Barney Sandler's, right?
Of course.
Yeah. It was Barney Sandler's, who is just wonderful, that said, speak softly and carry a fat sack of dank memes. And that's something that I live by, and I have it tattooed across my chest.
Yeah.
And I do. I carry around at least 1,000 memes with me on my person at any given time. And I'm always getting that, and Grinder are the two reasons that I have absolutely zero memory on my phone for anything else. So podcasts have to be deleted right away after I listen to them. I can't, like photos, videos, I can't keep any of this stuff. It's all got to go because gun to my head, save the memes.
Well, do you
actually?
have,
that's not true because
what kind of
a
security
dude
do you?
stole my memes, but
this is all encrypted, right? You don't just walk around with this unencrypted on your phone, like
no, not at all.
I think we need to start taking precautions.
That's the nation's meme arsenal right there.
Yeah, I mean, what if these memes fell into the wrong hands, Steve?
Yeah, what if Cantwell got my memes? He would use them to solicit donations. He'd be like, look what dank memes I make. Ha ha ha. And then,
he's I think he's been the subject of several dank memes. So
yeah, yep,
why not?
Exactly. Wait, is dank memes what we're calling cross burnings? Because I think he has been the subject of several, and by subject I mean organizer of.
Back in the real world of politics and whatnot, let's look at somebody like Rand Paul. Meme arsenal, lame. Okay, and he's like barely registering in the polls, right?
Augustus Invictus has a dank meme arsenal. I'll tell him that. And
right.
I wrote a couple Hail Invictus, Hail to the Sun God memes.
Okay, so they say like he's he's a scrappy upstart, like somebody like Trump. Like my feed is full of Trump memes, and it doesn't matter whether they're pro-Trump, anti-Trump. I like the one that says, "Shut up." Blank, get in the car. We're making America great again, and it's got him pointing a gun at you. Like, it's pretty good tactical meme, I'd say.
I don't think it's a good meme. I think it's whack, and I think these ones of Hillary on her phone are even more dumb.
Hillary has memes. Okay, all right.
Yeah, Hillary's memes are so stale. They are.
What can I do to even be exposed to these? Like, I wouldn't mind seeing a few of these in my news feed just because I'm tired of Trump and Bernie memes.
Yeah, go to Google Images and search the Hillary texting meme. Okay. And there's a bunch of them. And Hillary went and met the original maker of the Hillary texting meme, and he flipped out because it was some very light.
Let me guess. He worshipped at her feet and licked her boots, and just.
It's very sad. Gay people
have some
love
pride. You know what? You brought Hillary, to her knees with your meme, and then you become subservient. No.
Yeah.
No.
That is not how the meme game works. If Bernie Sanders had come to my door and been like, "Yo, thank you for making that Unabomber meme. I wanna sit down and I want to have a meal with you," I'd be like, "Listen, here's what happens. I'm going to make you food, Bernie Sanders, but I get to prepare it, and you don't get to ask any questions about it, and I don't take responsibility for anything that happens after the meal."
Fair enough.
Yeah. So, a recent South Park song about people who write Yelp reviews comes to mind, but people who've seen it will know. That's all right. Little sub.
But this is what my advice would be: if you do a super meme and you bring down somebody like Hillary with your meme, okay, and they contact you, this is what you do. You don't say, "Oh, I'm so flattered." What you do is you say, "Hey, I do have some ideas for the next meme. Perhaps we should talk about it with your budget person." Okay. And find out if perhaps for a small fee, your second meme won't be coming out. She's got unlimited funds, right? So take 100,000, take $1 million to skip a meme, right? Is that meme extortion? That's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I think you greatly overestimate the value because they would just have you murdered. They could have you murdered.
No, you
for
see,
probably
well,
100.
that's why you do one of those things where you say, like, I've already made 100 memes. That was the first, and if I don't log in from a secure computer once every day, the remainder of the meme cache will be distributed to every dank meme site across Facebook. Right? That's your security blanket. That's your safety net to make sure that she can't just take you out like she would with any other opponent.
What meme do you have in mind that's so dank that's going to bring Hillary to her knees? Because here's the thing: like you sound like an open mic comic, like planning his Comedy Central special when you have 2 jokes and they're all about porn.
Well, I'm not the expert in memes. You are. I'm just sitting back, observing, marveling at how the memes
unfold. Sound like you want to represent me as my meme agent, and I wouldn't.
Oh, right. That's where I could be. Like I could be like how much is that meme worth to you? Like I can sell it. I'll definitely sell the memes, but I need you, to make them.
You're the one who gets everybody in a room and then closes the door. It's like, all right, we need to talk about what my man does with Pixlr. Because he's just upped his game to GIFs. He's a bit to hit you right in the GIFs.
That's terrible. And for people that don't know, a GIF is
like a short little clip, like maybe 3 seconds, usually of some action thing or a reaction shot of someone's face or such like. Yeah, it's like a live action meme that lasts a couple seconds.
Yeah, it's like a short, tiny little video that loops. I love it.
Yeah, people getting shots to the crotch. Like in sports highlights, it's pretty popular. Like if you go on Twitter and look at
Hey, extra credit. What does GIF stand for? GIF.
Good intentions, fellas.
Close enough. Or graphics interchange format. How about that?
Learn something every
Introduced by
day
CompuServe in 1987, and it's finally worth something. Yeah! The system works.
We'll be right back.
Freedom Feens with Michael Dean. This is what radio sounds like now.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
This is the Freedom Feens. Steve Miller back here with Jim Bad. James, you having a good day?
Awesome.
So today I feel, so I had a good day in a lot of ways, but I did fail to get on the list of artists for Bernie Sanders. I feel that you and me and the listeners all need to step up our game in getting me on this list.
We should all contact the Sanders campaign and say, why isn't Meme Master, stand-up comedian, and popular syndicated radio host not included?
I believe in Bernie Sanders, and I don't believe in individual people, as I've made mention on this show before. So get me on that list, Bernie. Feel that burn. And if it helps, sorry I memed you so hard.
Are you kidding? That's what makes him relevant.
Yeah.
He owes you for your hardcore Bernie memes, right? That's what makes him topical. That's why he's in there, right?
So there's a podcast that I know I told you about called The Black Guy Who Tips. Great podcast. It's this guy and his wife. They live in North Carolina. They're liberal as can be, but they're hilarious. He does a great Ben Carson impression. Any episode where like there's Ben Carson in the news, it's usually worth it to listen to Rod and Karen on The Black Guy Who Tips.
Nice.
But yeah, and he's dead on with it, like, because he'd heard like a lot of these like boring old black dudes in his life, and he's got the voice down. And but he had said something. So when Bernie had that confrontation with Black Lives Matter, he kind of took the side of the Black Lives Matter people, and he was like, "How weak do you look?" He's like, "You just like gave over the thing," and da-da. And he got trolled by the Bernie people so hard for weeks, and he just hates Bernie now. And yeah, he's got a lot to say about Bernie Sanders, and I love hearing him. The Black Guy Who Tips, great podcast, highly recommended.
Right, and I'm presuming he is a black guy because he's making jokes about black guys.
He is, and he tips.
All right.
And he's on Twitter too, Rodimus Prime. But yeah, highly recommended. And I like a diversity of viewpoints in my feed. Like, I can't just listen to a podcast about the non-aggression principle all the time. I need like a little bit of.
I'm with it. Can you let's include that in the show notes?
Yeah, sure. But yeah, a little bit. I hate the word diversity. See, diversity is one of these words where it's like organic, like it actually means something, but it's just been perverted. You say organic, and you just sound like you're wearing a North Face polar fleece. Organic. Is this organic? Organic. Is this local?
Oh, that organic's old school. It's fair trade, free range. Picked and hand chewed by a Guatemalan woman. Before it's sent to your Whole Foods. Right?
Cruelty free.
Yeah,
I like that one.
Locally sourced.
Yeah. Cruelty free. I'd like a little extra cruelty. Yeah.
Yeah. I just saw I didn't get to read it in depth, but I kind of saw the headline and a photo of a new robot, weed stomping farm robot. No harmful pesticides needed. And I saw this robot. It was like, wow, this is a robot weeder. Okay. Like, it takes the weeds out of the field. And I thought, this is going to be really, like, keep an eye on this company, because if Donald Trump is elected, buy this stock, because suddenly there's going to be a lot of need for robotic agricultural work.
1 second.
So, the weed stomping farm robot.
There's going to be a lot of people needing work.
What's that, Steve?
There's going to be a lot of people needing work. My coffee pot was going off, and I didn't want there to be a loud whistle in the background.
There's been weirder things in the background.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people are always, notice how people complain a lot about automation. And it's like, oh, that's
I'll never go to a self-checkout.
Yeah. Or like, and I don't do the Easy Pass or whatever they're talking about it is. It's some kind of like, I don't, that's taking away jobs. It's like, it's so sad. Like, you really think like people should like be digging in the fields with spoons or something, like instead of using tractors. This, this looks like a great invention if it actually works.
Every time I get in a car, I feel bad about the buggy whip makers. I don't know.
Yeah. And the candlestick makers.
But when I was in Ohio, I went to the Walmart in Ashtabula, Ohio, and details after the break. But it was quite insane.
Yeah. A story from Steve about a trip to Walmart. Who knows where that could go?
You're listening to Freedom Feens with Michael Dean and some of his weird friends. And yes, we're broadcasting this into space.
When you shop online, please do it through the Freedom Feens Amazon link over on the right side of freedomfeens.com. It won't cost you any extra, and the Feens will get a little taste from Amazon, and Amazon will save you the danger of drive-by stabbings at your local mall. Amazon sells pretty much everything you can buy on this earth, except for guns and weed. But they do sell the DVD Guns and Weed: The Road to Freedom. So get that for your gun-hating stoner brother or neocon gun nut dad. They'll thank you for it. That's freedomfeens.com. Freedom, Foxtrot, Echo, November, Sierra.com.
Jim Babb against Steve Miller, and now we have
Fiend phone.
No. Anyway, welcome back to the Feens.
Yeah,
Indeed.
you kidding?
Does Michael live?
Yeah, I live.
Ah,
It
Nice.
lives.
Yes, this is the Fiend Phone Unnecessary Random Re-Education Interruption Exigency System, or FURIES. It's a backdoor that I built into Fiend Phone with Derek Slopey that allows me to interrupt any broadcast using Fiend Phone. As long
Speaking
as
of backdoor interruptions, have you
Yes.
been following MWD:?
Yeah.
Hashtag.
I have more news. I have more health news. I also have.
No,
this is
I didn't
great.
mean to trigger. I didn't mean to trigger.
You triggered it. You triggered the warning, man. It's a math event. It's an if then. You can't stop it at this point. It's logic, man.
Let me ask a first question here.
All right.
Isn't it true that microaggressions to your polyps may have saved your life?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a. It's not
It's a
the
classic
kind of,
microaggression.
It's not the
very
good kind of
small.
stuff on your back. How do I say this on radio on a bunch of stations owned by people who read Leviticus like it's Life magazine? Let's see. It's not the good kind of stuff that happens back there. You have to. I don't know. What am I trying to say? It's kind of invasive, but it saves your life. Yeah. No, we already covered the fact that the polyps removed were precancerous. We covered that the other night with Lou on the Friday show. And we talked, I called in to, Lou was doing the Maserati repair and fly fishing show. And I called in and asked if I could use the removed polyps, if I tied some hair to them and tied them to a fishing hook, if they could be used for bait. And he said, yeah, but only for trash fish. So, yeah, I don't know if you haven't been around long enough to know about the Maserati and fly repair and fly fishing show, Steve, have you?
No, I'm a noob.
Yeah, it's a sub. I had a dream tonight that that you were like strung out on heroin and homeless, Steve, and I was like taking you to a meeting. It was weird. It was cool.
Oh, that would be really bad.
That's the kind of great like radio co-host you are, Michael.
I am. I would take you kicking and screaming and sober you up to do radio.
You're conflating like the person with the neighborhood they live in. That's like if I had a
think
dream
it
that
is.
Nick was a yak.
I think it is. I think you're a good boy, but you live in a bad town, in a bad part of a bad town. So, yeah, man. So no, I know you're not doing that, but, yeah. So I heard a great word for when you talk about your health problems. Somebody said, heard me talking about it on Facebook and said, yeah, when my relatives do that, we call it an organ recital. So I'm thinking that could be a new hashtag, but if it goes beyond my colon. I've been just using MWD:, but it's not always my colon. So the Maserati and Fly Fishing Show is a comment on how narrow focused the internet can be compared to how radio can be. Like radio classically has to be as expansive and lowest common denominator as possible. And the joke we came up with is you could have a fishing show on the radio, and you could have like a car repair show. Most networks have both, but you could almost not even have, maybe you could have like a fishing show and, Ford truck repair show, but you could never have a fly fishing and Maserati repair show. But on the internet you could, because it's more narrowly focused. So
right now, it's Maserati Fly Fishing for Anarchists show, which is
that's
the next level, and that's a huge market there. If you think globally,
yeah. So did you guys have somewhere to go before I start reviewing 4 movies none of you guys have seen?
Yeah, I was going to talk about my trip to the Ashtabula County Walmart in Ohio.
Okay, while I work on my notes while you do that, let me ask you real quick. Did you guys see any of the movies I recommended this week?
Don't think so.
I've been working hardcore.
All right. That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Cool.
Yeah,
I like
that's
that,
really
man.
interesting radio. We could talk about movies that we haven't seen.
Well, I'll just recommend them really quickly when we get to it, and I'll do one of them has an interview with the guy who did the first ever citizen videotape activism of cops acting the fool, like way before the Los Angeles riot. So if that whets your interest at all. All right, so go ahead and tell me about Walmart. I'm always up for a good Walmart story.
So Ashtabula County, Ohio has the nation's, I believe it's the 4th largest Amish population in the country.
Were you signing your name Amish Steve today on Facebook?
I was not signing my name Amish Steve.
I dreamt you were. That was part of the heroin thing, was like you were
it all
Amish.
starts with being
If you see
Amish.
somebody that's like calling themselves Amish, Steve, it's probably a lie, because I don't think the Amish use Facebook. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Maybe. I don't actually.
Well, there's a
somebody
service
check me on
called
that.
Shunbook.
Fiend
Hey,
World.
there's
Am I wrong to the Amish? You know, maybe they can.
Here's
if it's
the
not
thing
too,
about the
if it's
Amish.
not
My
too
dad's had a
fancy.
lot of My dad's dealt with them a lot. Real Amish. Well, I mean, I guess you could argue, you know, the Flying Dutchman or the real Dutch. What is it? The real Scotsman.
Zero Scotsman.
Fallacy. But you know, generally, like they don't. It's not as square as it sounds. Like there are Amish businesses that will have a computer
Yeah.
for record keeping. But there's
Right.
no way in hell they're hooking it up to the
And the
internet.
Walmart was full of Amish people, but
Yeah.
they wouldn't use the self checkout. And I
Right.
was with my stepdad,
devil.
and my stepdad also didn't want to take away people's gerbs.
Oh, this was on a
Sure.
Sunday. Was this
The
on a
gerbs.
Sunday?
No,
Right.
this was.
Well, they
on
basically just don't
a
want.
Wednesday.
They don't want.
Okay.
They don't want technology to like infect them, which is why
Like
you know,
buttons,
they will.
for instance.
Right,
Like,
they will
like
use
those evil buttons.
Fiends
You know,
buttons,
it
yeah.
starts with buttons, and
I
then
would give them away.
and then it's just a
Abraham,
down.
they're prideful buttons.
They're prideful buttons. Abraham,
prideful.
they're prideful.
Like if
buttons.
Freedom Fiends was Amish, you'd have to be giving away like looping hooks. You know,
Straight
Yeah,
pins.
Yeah.
Freedom Fiend looping hooks.
Sarah, they're bigger straight pins.
Finish your story.
So, I'm in line with my stepdad behind a bunch of Amish people, and none of us want to go to this self checkout thing, which is completely empty because none of
Did
the
you
Amish
want
people are
to,
going
or you were just
Yes.
with people that were square?
Yes.
You wanted to
But at
just-
least they're doing it out of religious
I
principle.
love
You're
that
just
thing.
lazy.
it's the devil. I love it. It's the devil in its purest form.
The devil's
No, it's just
plaything.
convenient.
Self checkout's the devil's plaything.
Yeah.
It does have like that red eye that like stares you down.
Well, as a Bernie
Yeah.
supporter, I'd be okay with it if I could be assured that the machine was being paid $15 an hour.
Yeah.
The machine should be able to feed its kids. Like I'm sure it has. Maybe it gave birth to like a baby pager that's going to grow up to be a fax machine or what have you. Like it's got kids and they deserve to have a good future and good schools and a social safety net. And yeah, that self checkout deserves 15. Fight for
I'm
15.
down with that. I'm
See, here's
totally
the thing.
down with
Everyone says fight for 15, but if you were actually like doing street fights, you had even a little bit of sales skill, you'd be making more than 15. If you could literally fight, like if you're an MMA fighter, you'd be making
Yeah.
more than 15 an hour.
Well, no,
Right.
they have to collectively fight, which means they have to have a network effect, which means that two of them have to be worth more than one of them. And I don't know if that's true with self checkouts. You know, it's certainly true with fax machines. You know that one, right? Or Fiend phones. Like one Fiend phone is worthless. Two Fiend phones is worth something. You know, 4 Fiend phones is worth more than twice 2 Fiend phones. The network effect. And
Right,
I don't
that's
know
why
if
the
Bernie
internet is so
supporters-
awesome.
Right. And I don't know. Yeah. When it gets to the point where it's been around for 25 years, all of a sudden there's magical internet money to buy drugs with and the government collapses. That's how it works in the internet. So I don't think that there is a network effect with Bernie supporters. I think 2 of them is worth half one of them.
How does it's a negative network effect?
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, when you get a few thousand of them, it's basically they're worth 0.
Here's the thing I've noticed about other fellow Bernie supporters is that when you put a bunch of them together, their voices all become collectively more annoying because they all get that NPR sheen in their voice.
Americans
Pregnant
like
pause.
to use big tent metaphors to describe our political affiliations. We paint our values with broad strokes. I'm too hoarse to sound like I sound like I, you know, have some, I don't know. I can usually do an NPR, but
Someone told me I sounded like Ira Glass, and I ran, did not walk to the nearest vocal cord surgery center.
no, you look
I
like
was like, take it away. I don't care. what
Actually, you
sound
can do
like
the.
you
You know,
sound
forget the
sexy.
surgery. Paul Malls, pack a day. We'll solve that problem. with
Yeah,
your
it worked
voice.
for me.
Yeah.
Find the doctor. Like, what is it? 1951. Doctors recommend you smoke Pall Malls and no other brand.
The official cigarette of the 1951 Olympic team. Yeah.
Good for my T zone.
The swimming team loved it.
Swimming
Man,
in
I'm
nicotine.
looking at images from a recent gun show. This black woman walks into a gun show, which we're going to cover later.
Yes.
I forgot how patriotic gun shows are, man. And what did you say ISIS stands for, Steve?
Is statism incredibly shameful?
Yeah.
And the answer is,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
because the government created ISIS, and I learned that on a meme.
Yeah.
Where else are you going to learn about the true nature of ISIS if it wasn't for memes? I mean,
Schools.
right. Memes have not only replaced politics, they're replacing warfare. Soon they're now replacing our educational system. In fact,
Politics.
in fact, if I'm trying to teach, like, they'll probably have like a memes for children, workshop of some kind,
Memes for
like
kids.
They
memes
have
for kids.
college. No, you can major in that in college now. It's called like social networking or something. It's a major. You can get a master's in that in some colleges. Probably the same colleges where, you spend all your time yelling about microaggressions. Oh,
Well, Michael, you missed it. Michael, you missed it earlier. We just planned out how we're going to form a sort of a military contractor company to create tactical memes for as little as $1 billion.
Cool.
So,
well, since we're talking within Steve's story, and this is like parenthetical, cone-centric, hypertextual speech that's all going to get wrapped back up, I will mention that I have more organ recital, which is I now have officially high blood pressure, and they added me on medication for that. So that's the.
And you said they asked you to take a test,
piss test. Yeah, I had to pee in a cup.
Had to? Who's dictating these things?
I didn't ask because basically I think what it would have come down to is it would have delayed me getting the medicine. Like they were writing the prescription right there that day. I didn't see the doctor. I saw the nurse. So I went in for my bi-weekly. Is that every 2 weeks or every? Anyway, every 2 weeks I go in for a Xolair shot.
Steve, yeah. Oh. Yeah, what does bi mean? Steve?
That's every 2 weeks.
Okay. So I get
it means convincible.
These hamster ovary shots. Not if you don't do drugs or drink. Yeah, I'm straight as long as I don't do drugs or drink, and then I turn bi if I do. So I hear the music, but basically the doctor probably wouldn't have.
But basically, I'm bisexual.
Given me the medicine if I had refused.
You and the hamster in your brain are
blood pressure was
listening
off
to
the chart.
Freedom Feens with Michael Dean and his weird friends.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists like Barack Obama and Al Gore taking credit for the web while trying to take over the web? Are you disgusted by experts whose concept of the internet is that it's a series of tubes? Take back the free market of computing by encouraging software developers to adopt the BIPCOT No-Gov license. The BIPCOT No-Gov license allows any use or modification except by governments. Go to bipcot.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
Freedom Feens. Steve Miller, Michael Dean, and I'm Jim Babb. All right. So, all right, what do we got, guys? We were in the middle of a very interesting story from Steve about Walmart. Did we cover that?
That was pretty much it. So I was standing in line with my stepdad who didn't want to take jobs from the people working at Walmart. And, people whine about Walmart jobs being so awful. And then when they get replaced with kiosks, then they whine about the fact that their jobs are being replaced by the kiosks. So...
Hey, learn to build robots. I'm thinking. I'm trying to steer my kids in that direction. I think that's going to be
15 an hour. 15 an hour. You got to pay them.
Yeah, for each of your robots. Think about it. That's the way that's going to work.
No.
You deploy a fleet of 500 robots that are making 50 cents an hour. Why not?
Well, I have
nothing.
a thing for the. I have a thing against the robots because I keep getting fiend droned.
Fiend droned.
Yeah, fiend droned.
Well, it's just to get you used to the sound of Fiend Phone when you come back, because a future version of Fiend Phone, it's still in beta. Like a future version of Fiend Phone is going to be a robot controller, and the people that have to administer the robots until the robots are completely self-aware and can take over Skynet style. The people are going to have to learn to jump when they hear that Fiend Phone. Like it's supposed to make you feel pain.
Why?
You have to. Because if you don't, like the robots, if something slips a gear in the robots, a human has to dislodge it and make it work. So if you want to make $15 an hour, you're going to be poking robots with a stick, basically, but you have to be really quick at it. So
Right.
you're going to have to learn
right,
to
because if it's like a
when you hear,
say it's like a 100-ton like massive harvester robot that like roams the prairies of Kansas,
picking
right?
all
like,
the pot after what's
Harvester. I hardly know her.
After Trump will make room for a lot of robots because you'll need everyone to replace all the Mexican gardening workers.
You know what? He'll probably put them in. What he'll do is he's going to round up all. He said he's going to round up all the what he calls illegal aliens. What I call just people. He's going to round them up, and it's going to find out it's too expensive to actually like ship them anywhere. So he's going to put them in prisons, and then the prisons will be a private contractor, and that'll rent out their labor to Donald Trump to build more walls and barbed wire fences.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
Somebody said that walls are good things, and I'm like, you know what? Look at the Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe. There's someone who built a wall.
Yeah.
I
always thought that was an allegory for mental illness, though, of like building a prison of your own. But
when I taught in the Filippo schools, I used to teach that story.
One of the funniest things I've ever seen. Have you ever been to the Edgar Allan Poe house?
Yeah, it's 7 blocks from where I'm sitting right now.
I've been to N.A. Poe's house.
Really? Okay. Well, the house where Dick Cheney grew up in is 8 blocks from where I'm sitting right now. So I've got my historical monuments. You've got yours. One of the funniest jokes in the series The Wire. Have you ever seen The Wire?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great show. Great show. Great writing.
I don't know.
Totally influenced by Hubert Selby Jr., including one of the co-creators of it was a huge fan of his. There's a scene where there's these 2 teenage gangbangers sitting on the porch of a dope house or trap house, guarding it from robbery during the day. And, like searching everyone, checking everyone out who comes up to buy dope. And it's one of those like comes in the beginning of the show, comes in the middle of a conversation, which was actually pioneered by Tarantino. What they call a quarter pounder with cheese in France, that kind of thing. Like it was never really done in TV or movies before that, the way it was when Tarantino did it. But he invented hey, sometimes people have conversations in life that don't really advance the story, and that's how reality works. So people started putting it in. There's this excellent one in The Wire. These 2 kids are stroking their Glocks and talking on the porch of this house. And the kid's going, so this old, I'm not going to try to do the accent, but he's like, so this old white couple comes up to me. They pull up in a car and they say, "Where's the Poe house?" And I said, "Take a look around. Which one?" And they seemed disappointed because I didn't know which Poe house they meant.
Worms.
You guys aren't going to laugh at that?
I was waiting for the punchline. I don't even get it.
The Poe house, the poor house. Like the ghetto house, the poor house.
Oh, I see.
Did I tell it wrong? Yes, it needs the accent, but it's too racist, man. I can't do it. Yeah. It's funny in the show. It's really funny in the show.
It's funny. Laugh or else.
It's funny when I don't do it. I'll take that hit.
It's all good. It's not like I never bomb.
The Poe house. I know.
Hey, we've got Ask a Sumo Sexual in the next hour.
Speaking of bombing.
My fellow sheep, election season is upon us. Are you one of the 12% of Americans who still approves of our government? Then we need your help to force the other 88% into compliance. Our democracy depends on it. We're an organization called Citizens Against Too Much Unfettered Freedom, or CATMUF. CATMUF is a bipartisan flock of sheep whose goal is expanding government until nothing else remains. Because the government is here to help you. How can you help CATMUF help you? By only voting for candidates dedicated to expanding government. It's easy. You don't need to study the issues. No matter what a politician says when running for office, they're all dedicated to expanding government. And make sure you tell all your friends and family to vote for more government. Here at CATMUF, we don't care if you vote Democrat or Republican, as long as you vote for candidates committed to growing our federal family. CATMUF, because folks just aren't smart enough to handle real freedom.
Well, it's not like we shared a hotel room. I just was checking in as they were checking in.
probably more realistic as a drag act.
Yeah, where's Bill Clinton from? Arkansas. He's in Arkansas. When I was,
A man from Hope.
They flew me out to speak at the college there. And I'm going to wait till the music's out. And then I'm going to press the cuss dump. I'm going to build the cuss dump here. Let it build 20 seconds.
And this being the top of the hour, we will remind you that, trigger warning, this is the Freedom Feens.
It really is. Yeah. So,
and that we're covered by a BibCon no-gov license. And
Yeah.
we're sorry that we forgot to remind you the last hour, but Barack Obama is
a liar.
And
a socialist. And
and
his feet stink.
it's like a call and response. We got like kind of a black preacher vibe going.
Let me start it. Barack Obama is a liar.
A socialist.
And his feet stank.
Man, the blackest teen was like late. All right, let's try it again. The Barack Obama is a liar.
A socialist.
And his feet stank.
There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay,
That's
so
lame.
I'm going to play. I told this joke.
I'll do a
from
faith healing. I'll make his feet not stink.
No, I'm going to do. I told a joke last segment from the show The Wire, and apparently I didn't tell it right because there was too long between the setup, which was,
It was over my head.
It's about Edgar Allan Poe. Although these guys don't ever say they call him Edwin Allen, Edwin I don't know, but I'm going to try to play this without getting a cuss on the air. So be quiet. Let me
FCC, stand by.
My magic. Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, so we out on the couch. This old white roll up. He's like, young man, you know where the po house is? I'm like, you kidding? Look around. Take your pick. So the old man.
Yep, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
I did it, and I censored it live. Beep, 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 beep. There's an episode of 30 Rock where they do a Saturday Night Live show live with somebody censoring it. What's the really religious guy's name on 30 Rock? Kenneth the Page. The one who says, "Of course I speak German. If you're not reading the Bible in the original German, it doesn't have the," which is a Pennsylvania Dutch reference, I think. You thought it's Pennsylvania Deutsch. It's not Dutch, Steve. It's Deutsch. It's German. They can
called
understand
Pennsylvania Dutch, but it is
again. You're telling me these things like I live in the Dutch part of Pennsylvania,
You're Amish
not the
Steve,
Puerto Rico
man.
part of Pennsylvania. I'm Amish Steve.
I'm closer to the Amish
heroin
country
handled
than he
Amish
is.
Steve.
Yeah. And I'm
Well, I
nowhere
grew up in
near.
upstate New York in Amish country too, and they've had some interesting rights fights over the years. Like they fought. I think they went all the way to the Supreme Court to try to not have to have license plates on their buggies, and lost.
I dig them. Well, you know what? I dig the
Yeah.
Amish. I don't really. I'm not friends with any. But I would be, and I like the way they just I have a philosophy that's just kind of like leave us alone. We're not going to bother you. I dig that.
And let me tell you, nobody can lay a beating on their kid at a Walmart quite like an Amish person. They will beat their kids.
Well, I think that's in the Bible in the original German.
Yeah, they
Really?
punch them. Yeah, they'll kick them like they don't care.
I'm surprised.
They'll lay a beating on those kids. Yeah.
Do you think at some point they would not go to Walmart, and then they had like some council of elders meeting and decided it was okay?
I think it was when they saw those 88-cent playing cards. That's what I bought.
But then you apologized.
Then I waited in line for 45 minutes. Well, I apologize if there was too much choice. Remember, I'm a Bernie supporter, so seeing that there were 10 different kinds of playing cards available just made me think of all the children that had to starve so that playing cards could be made.
So there were, I gave you guys some homework, which you didn't do, which was watch a movie. And
you sent me some links like a half hour
An
ago,
hour ago.
of like here's 6 movies to be familiar with for the show.
Like during the first hour of the movie.
Yeah.
No, it was like an hour or two before the show. I was like, here, and if you watch this one, these 4 too, and you
Let
could
me
have
go
been
back
done.
in time and watch those.
But
or you could, if you play them at 4 times speed, it's a little squeaky, but you can eventually get used to it.
yeah, well, I'm going to recommend. I'll just recommend them, and I'll discuss. I know that Diana's going to watch one of them, so I'll talk with her tomorrow about these. But here's the movies I'm recommending. Electric Boogaloo: The Wild Untold Story of Canon Films, which is these are all on Wikipedia. This is about this documentary, or it's about this film company I didn't know existed, but they made like 80 films a year at their height, and it was all B movies, but they actually made some good movies too. Like they made Barfly, but they made a lot of stuff like they didn't make Death Wish, but they made Death Wish 2 through 5. So it's that kind of company. And it's a really, really entertaining kind of like, I don't even know if it's, like David against Goliath thing, because these guys were kind of acting like Goliath while being David. But yeah, so I recommend Electric Boogaloo: The Wild Untold Story of Canon Films.
Nice.
The film Everybody Street, which is a documentary about street photographers, mostly in New York City. And this one also has an interview with a street photographer who happened to have a video camera in 1988, which no one did because it cost like, $10,000, and it was giant and fragile and required didn't have batteries, had to have AC power kind of thing. They were really unwieldy. And he actually filmed 3 hours of the police beating people up in Tompkins Square Park, and it ended up on the news nationwide. Like, this is, 4 years before the Rodney King riots.
What year was this?
88.
Is that like Giuliani's, the mayor at that time?
God, who was?
Dinkins.
Yeah?
That's a great name for a
Dinkins?
politician. Is Dinkins. You're a
Was
Dink.
it?
Dinkins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Giuliani came by, I think, in like 92 or so.
Yeah, I think Giuliani was the Attorney General of New York State at that time, wasn't he? And he was taking down the mob, which basically means removing their monopoly of violence and giving it to the state.
That's good.
Yep. So so we this film, but it's really beautiful, and I would say Everybody Street is an important film, and I don't say that often. There's not a lot of films I say are important, but I would say this one is important. I'd say it's especially important for anybody that wants to document anything, especially photographers, but filmmakers, writers, podcasters, anybody that wants to do something for the ages, I would say should watch this. It's a beautiful film. It's very Hubert Selby Jr. I kept waiting for like a reference to him. It just felt like him. And there was actually a photographer in it. One of the 5 or 6 photographers profiled it. It was a woman who, Diana Priebus, I think is her name, who had some pictures of Selby that she took in the 60s or 70s that I wanted to use in my film. And she wanted to charge me for them. And I'm like, nah, I don't do that. I just didn't have the money. And actually, there were a lot of people who knew Selby who wanted the film to get made, who gave me rights to use their pictures. But she had a great picture of him with like his parakeet on his shoulder and the parakeet like shaking its head. I just really wanted to use it. So I had talked to her and she said no. And it's kind of interesting too, because several of the photographers in this, they all use film still, they don't use digital, and they all pretty much hate digital. And I don't know, man. I think that, and part of what they hate about digital is the look of it, but part of it, what they hate about it is the democracy of it. They hate the fact that anybody can take a picture and it takes it out of the hand of experts. I think that's the buggy whip manufacturers complaining,
Yep.
that the cars are putting them out of business, because I love the look of silver photography, of non-digital analog photography. It's amazing. You still can't really do it with digital, but I love the fact that everybody can take a picture now. I don't know any
professional photographers that don't use digital. I maybe that's just different circles, but
yeah,
maybe.
I knew one that was a holdout. It was Steve Diet-Getty, who's a fashion/erotic photographer that I made a DVD with called Living Vicariously Through Steve Diet-Getty. He was using film when we were making that in 2007, maybe.
Oh, way back then. Yeah.
But he was a holdout. I mean,
right.
but I've looked at his website since then, and it shows him being photographed using digital. I think he does both now, but he does large format, like 4x5, is that what it's called? Which
like
is
a huge
like a
piece of film.
The camera is one of those, like, has bellows on it,
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can blow it up to, a billboard and it looks good. Like it's what they used to
Right,
use
it's
for
an
fashion photography.
insane amount of detail can be captured on those.
And it's like, each time you pull the trigger, it costs you like $12 or something, for film and developing. So
hey, if you got time and, if you could, more power to you. If people want to buy your work and you make a business out of it, do it.
Yeah. There was a quote from, what was it? Yeah, it was something about fat girl in Ohio. Have you ever heard that saying?
It's
It was
something
Francis
I
Ford
grew up
Coppola.
with.
Well, yeah, but there's a quote from who's the French New Wave filmmaker, the main one.
Those French filmmakers.
Yeah.
Remember, I went to government school and then I flunked out of government college. So.
Yeah. Well, one of them, who said something, is Godard, I think, said something to the effect of, filmmaking will not truly become an art until the materials are as inexpensive as pencil and paper. And we're at that, and there was
still a little
Francis Ford Coppola said, the great hope is that some little fat girl in Ohio is going to be the new Mozart and make a beautiful film. I think that's a really good, why does she have to be fat? Why does he have to say some little fat girl in Ohio? But anyway, Coppola said something to that effect too, of of the cheapening of the price of filmmaking.
Because it's not about the fat girl in Ohio. What he's talking about is Hollywood. Because Hollywood, if someone has filmmaking talent, they won't care.
That's why now anyone with a meme app on their phone is a political operative. It's the same. Yeah. It's they now have that high level power anywhere.
And that makes PolitiFact mad, and it says their pants are on fire.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is, and I think we all agree here, is we love art, we love high art, and we love beautiful art, but it's more important that anybody can do art, and most of it is crap. But when anybody can do art and most of it's crap, you get a few shining diamonds you'd never get otherwise.
If you dig.
If you dig.
Really dig.
If you use the Feens filter and only watch movies I recommend.
Steve Jobs said real art is shit.
Yeah, he's a capitalist.
You're listening to Freedom Feens with Michael Dean and his weird friends, tasing you with liberty since 2011. Learn more at freedomfeens.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Are you sick of peaceful people being locked away for victimless crimes? Instead of trying to get out of jury duty, consider taking it so you can do the right thing. A single juror with a conscience can send someone home to their family instead of to a jail cell. If there's no victim, how can there be a crime? And if the judge or prosecutor are keeping you in the dark, what are they trying to hide? You can vote your conscience instead of being a pawn of the state. For more information, Google jury nullification or check out the Fully Informed Jury Association at fija.org.
Miller and Michael W. Dean. We have a very...
I gotta say it. Okay, the female shooter in Riverside, California, her name is Tosh Feen. No relation. I gotta say that right now.
Okay.
I've never heard that name. I've never heard Feen in a name.
Wow.
That's the first name.
Well, what about Lou Sander Feen?
Yeah, but somewhere there's a government document that says his name is something else. Her real name is Tosh Feen.
You know what? This sounds like a setup to me. So I'm gonna just say false flag and whatever. No,
all right.
I'm just kidding. Anyway,
we're not changing our name. We're not the
let's-
ones that suck.
Yeah,
quote
I heard
Office
change her
Space.
name.
The best
So-
thing about shouting false flag is you never have to think about anything. You're just like, all right, well, false flag, and move on.
Right, and if you're presented with evidence to the contrary, that's just part of the conspiracy. Well, of course, that's just more stuff they manufactured. Of course, that
Hidden in plain sight.
yeah. I suspect there was a brown-haired girl there who was possibly crying.
Do fat girls from Ohio melt steel beams?
So, James,
All right.
it is the part of our show where we give back to the community.
We were
not
rudely
via,
interrupted.
Not via court order.
All right, this is one of the segments where we get back to the community and we answer questions from listeners.
What is our community?
This is called.
Well, I think we've established this.
We have a community. Sure, we do.
We're libertarian. The view at bar closing time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Anyway, this segment is called Ask a Sumo Sexual, where we ask Steve questions and he's going to drop some knowledge on us. Okay.
Yep. This is street tested knowledge.
All right. Here's a question. Dear Steve, all this talk about socialism in the news has me curious. I know you have some experience with the Bernie Sanders crowd, so maybe you could let me know. What is the difference between a democratic socialist, a plain socialist, and a national socialist? Signed, Bernie Curious in Vermont.
Okay, so the difference between the first part, let's tackle that first. The difference between a democratic socialist and a regular socialist is about 5 Facebook paragraphs explaining away the flaws of regular socialism by adding an extra word.
Got it.
So that's how you do that. It's 5 paragraphs to remove one word is the generally accepted ratio. Now, the difference between that and a national socialist is that the national socialists are Nazis, and Nazis are bad because they triggered a bunch of people, sometimes with actual triggers. So that's bad. And then plain flavor socialism is different from what Bernie Sanders offers because socialism is a little bit like Greek yogurt because the Greeks had it first, and what Bernie's doing is Bernie's adding a lot of fruity and nutty, so like those mix-in type of things.
Right, that's not real yogurt. It's like flavored rum, right? Like,
but Bernie himself,
like coconut rum sounds like a good idea, and then you drink too much of it and you're like, oh, that was a terrible idea.
Well,
right?
once you vomit it up, that's the end.
Right.
And I think it's the same. Yeah.
So are you saying like Bernie Sanders socialism is sort of like the coconut rum of
no, he's like a Chobani flip.
I don't know lines. Well, which one has the gulags? All of them, I guess.
I don't know if any specific yogurt brand has gulags. That might be something they could explore. Instead of cruelty free, they could be, extra gulag.
Right. Okay.
So Jim,
I think they have them in Bernie socialism, but it's just it's a trip to it's a trip against your will to a mental hospital for a 3-day stay, starting with a 3-day stay because you have guns and because you said something about not liking the government. Or being upset because, the Obamacare is taking too long to give you the things that you need to not die that were probably done by false flags anyway.
Well, which is the socialism that I'm told in various memes that it's just the same as sharing and Jesus was into it? Which kind of socialism is that?
Oh, there's a name for that.
That I actually don't know.
I know that. It's liberation theology.
Are you a sumo sexual? Because if so, the question's not addressed to you.
I told you I like plump Asian girls.
All right, go ahead and speak on this topic.
He's sumo sexual curious. I think that's fair.
I guess that in this limited circumstance, your sexual proclivities qualify you to answer this question about voting.
I told you I'm 21 years clean and sober, but if I had about 4 beers right now, I'd probably be sumo sexual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
all I need is the old college try.
Yeah.
Thank God for AA. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Hey, there's a new link for the Freedom Feens for if you want to listen on your Android phone to our 24/7 streaming link of random episodes of every episode ever. If you go to the Freedom Feens site, over on the left and scroll down a little bit, there's a tiny little couple inches down below the girl with the Freedom Feens shirt. There's an Android symbol there, and that'll take you to how you install
You're
that.
listening to Freedom Feens. Go to freedomfeens.com to help keep it drone-proof.
Admit it. You hate shopping for Christmas. You do. It's a hassle coupled with a burden, mechanically checking off friends, relatives, and coworkers from your list. You're probably not even religious, but if you are, is buying your cousin some little made-in-China piece of plastic really celebrating the birth of your savior? This holiday season, why buy gifts for friends and relatives? Most of them are status anyway. You should send that money to the Freedom Feens instead. The Freedom Feens will use your money to help spread education of horizontal liberation throughout the world. If you want to help provide inoculation from indoctrination, go to freedomfeens.com and click on the spinning coin on any post to send your money to the Feens instead. Because buying crap for unappreciative statist relatives won't get your name on the golden floppy disk of redemption. And if you must shop for Christmas, please do it through the Freedom Feens Amazon link over on the right side of freedomfeens.com. It won't cost you anything extra, and Amazon will save you the danger of holiday drive-by stabbings at your local mall. Amazon pretty much sells everything you can buy on this earth, except for guns and weed. But they do sell the DVD Guns and Weed: The Road to Freedom, so get that for your gun-hating stoner brother or neocon gun nut dad. They'll thank you for it. That's freedomfeens.com.
Back with the Freedom Feens. We are right in the middle of Ask a Sumo Sexual, where people bring their questions to Steve Miller, and he helps them with their issues. Now, here's a listener writes, Dear Mr. Miller. Sorry, Mr. / Ms. / Miss / XX. What is your gender identity? I don't want to microaggress against you by misgendering you. Signed, Pat.
Okay. Pat. Well, Pat, it's in the Progressive Bible. Forgive us our microaggressions as we forgive those who microaggress against us. So your point is well taken. In terms of my gender identity, I don't identify as a traditional male like some people might suspect by the rumble in my voice. What I identify as is a trans libertarian, and let me explain this. This basically means that I have libertarian beliefs and operate as a libertarian in society, but I was born into the healthy, non-overweight, non-neck-bearded, non-fedored body of a non-libertarian. And instead of using traditional pronouns like he or she, I have my own pronoun that I ask that people use, and that's liberty. So when you speak of me, don't say, well, Steve took his car and he went to the store. You'd say, Steve took his car and he went to the store to buy guns with bitcoins and weed. There you go. That's how you would do that. So I hope that clears up all the gender questions, and I would hope that I would never be microaggressed by anyone, and may your days be filled with trigger warnings.
Wow, that's gonna be that's you know it's really tough to be friends with you, isn't it? To really, if we're gonna hear by those rules.
I've had people actually do that. People actually tell me, like, here's a pronoun that I've made up. Well, you were at Occupy with me, you know.
Right? Did they make up pronouns at Occupy? I don't remember.
They were pronoun inventors, and that's how far we've slid. We used to
God
invent,
bless
like,
them. Hey, you know what? I give them points for trying. You know, go ahead, try it. Why not?
Why not other parts of speech? Why aren't you like, hey, I just invented this new adverb? That's useful.
You know, I had this hippie book. It belonged to one of my hippie sisters. Well, I didn't have it. She had it when I was a little kid. My sisters are between 11. One is 11 years older than me. I'm 51. One's 11 years older, and one's like 20 years older than me, or 18 years older. So, you know, they were at the tail end of being hippies in the 60s. And I remember one of their books presented the idea of a gender-neutral pronoun. It blew my mind. I mean, this is like 1974, and I'm 10 years old and reading this book. And the pronoun that this book was trying to pass off, I've never seen it since, was COS, C-O-S, for his or hers. You ever seen that one?
So it was the first instance of cosplay.
It's not going to work. It's just not going to work.
Didn't catch on. It's too unwieldy.
But it is strange.
Cosplay.
I wish we had like a linguist here that could shed some light on it. But the fact that gender is so intertwined with language is kind of fascinating when you think about it.
It's weird that it's intertwined with like heavily with nouns in most languages other than English. The only one in English,
and the declensions, like that's why I never really wanted to learn German. It's like you had to understand like all these like various versions of verbs that are,
and they don't even make sense. You know, you'd think like pointy things would be male, but you know they're not always.
How did our language become so intertwined with gender?
You got a mouse in your pocket?
Well, I believe we do share.
I know.
The concept
I'm taking
of
it too
language.
far. I'm being funny.
Yeah, no, it's not that funny.
I'm parroting Ian Freeman. You know, I had a dream the other night that it was libpair. Like literally, like government's gone. There's no FCC, and Ian
no need for freedom fiends anymore.
No, but so like what it was
called the Tyranny Tots.
Ian Freeman had a had a 1 million watt radio transmitter, like literally, like he covered all of America. And probably like baked his brain and made him sterile.
Say, cooked microwave burritos at a half mile.
yeah. But he had it. He had a tree house deep in the woods in New Hampshire, and it was really high up. It was like rainforest canopy height. Like he was like 300 feet up in this tree house, and I was up there with him doing a show, and we were cussing like sailors and just having a good time. And it was kind of like freeform weirdo radio. Like weirder than the Feens, you know. It was fun.
In a treehouse.
In a treehouse.
Hey, why
so
not?
it was a little bit like Fraggle Rock at bar closing time instead of The View.
Yeah. So anyway,
throw the state away. Worries for another day. Let the music play. Down at Live Hair Rock.
I think Fraggle Rock had an anarchist component. Somebody was posting a video from that at some point. It had a song that was about like not needing leaders. Does that sound familiar?
I'm all for it, though. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So,
hey, did you guys hear that my driver's license is now covered by the BIPCOT no government license? My license is now licensed to be not licensable by government.
I saw a picture of you wearing a BIPCOT license as an eye patch.
Somebody edited that. I was wearing an eye patch, and I just put the BIPCOT button, which is now, since it's bigger, I figure that I can show up in the photo, and it actually did. So it's covered now. So when they ask me for my driver's license, I'll have to politely decline once and just show them how it's on there, and then they won't be able to take it. Right?
Yep. Can't take it. Can't scan it. Can't scan it into their status little thing. Bars do that now. They scan your license because it's
right.
got
the
666 on the back.
Sure.
Mark of the Beast. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do have the pirate eye patch, and this lady was like, I've done this before, and this time I switched eyes just to see if they'd notice. And she noticed.
Wait, explain more. I don't know if the listeners get what you're talking about. You went to get your driver's license picture taken, and you wore an eye patch that you might not need, right?
Right. I'm not saying why I wore the eye patch or didn't wear the eye patch.
You might need it.
But let's just say it was
you needed it on a different eye.
4 years ago, I needed. Yeah. I may or may not have needed it on the other eye. Okay. Anyway, it's just for the lulls to, try to have some fun. And the first time they said, now listen, I'm sorry, but I just have to ask, do you wear that for medical reasons? And I said, gosh, do you really think I would wear this if I didn't have to? I'm sorry, I just had to ask. And that covered me. So I tried that this time, and this lady wasn't having any of that. She's like, no, I just had this question. I just have to ask. I'm sorry. I got to ask this question. I'm like, okay. She's like, okay, why is that for medical reasons? I said, I don't, it's for personal reasons. And she's like, oh, that's interesting. And she's like, I better call somebody. So
Yeah, call
For
Harrisburg.
religious, you say it's for religious reasons. You worship Snake Plissken from Escape from New York. Is that his name?
I don't know. I didn't wear the spaghetti strainer on my head.
That's the third Plinkskite we've seen this week.
Yeah, he's following you, Amish Steve, on heroin.
Yeah, in his buggy. He has to get that licensed.
Yeah.
Yo, and I just want you to know that between heroin hits, Amish Steve's buggy is also covered by a BibCon no government license, and so is his
I would
heroin.
love to see Amish.
So is his
doing
horse.
That. Yeah, but they need to download it and print it, which they wouldn't. So maybe
You need to make up
maybe
just
you
an all
should.
black version of the logo.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe one of you guys should do it and hand them out free at Walmart to Amish.
Do you think their hymnals accept ads? Because we could just take out a couple pages worth of ads at the hymnal,
That's
and then put a bunch of
I never
no-gov
thought about
licenses in there.
I'd like to sponsor that hymnal.
To make sure the government doesn't reuse it to sing German hymns.
Well, yeah, it'll be like war hymns or whatever, Battle Hymn of the Republic. That's the only one the government uses.
Yeah, you would have to. Well, see, and then you think you get editorial control because you're a big advertiser, so you want to change like to Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom to the same tune.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bring that on. Bring that
German.
on.
It's a language barrier thing.
Well, that's what I tell my father-in-law when he wants to be like, hey, if people are coming to America. And I'm like, you're right. This is Pennsylvania. You better speak German or get out. That always kind of stops them conservative in their tracks, at least in Pennsylvania.
Sprich Deutsch or Auf Wiedersehen. That's what I say.
It's good, yeah.
If it weren't for the French, you'd be speaking Algonquin.
I'm not laughing at genocide. I swear that's true.
Yeah.
No, I think it could have. I think George Washington also had a lot to do with the fact that we're not speaking Algonquin.
Your small chuckle is nothing compared to the smallpox.
So did any of you watch the movie about William F. Buckley and Gore Vidal debates?
Nobody watched any of your movie
God,
suggestions.
All right. You're all lame. Well, have you ever seen Trailer Park Boys?
I'll
bring it down to
I have
your
the next
level.
2 days off.
I'll bring it down to your level. Have you ever seen Trailer Park Boys?
Yes, and those dudes are coming to the venue I work at.
Okay, and have you ever seen Parks and Recreation?
Yes.
Okay, I have a theory that Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec is secretly the father of Ricky from Trailer Park Boys. They look alike, and I could totally. They both like guns. They both hate authority. Although I don't think Ron Swanson would abandon a kid, but he did sleep with a Canadian woman. He slept with Tom's ex-wife or Tom's wife at one point before she repatriated. And they're probably only about 12, 13 years apart in age. But somebody said they could see Ron Swanson abandoning a kid in the woods with nothing but a knife to learn to take care of himself. So maybe that happened.
Nice.
Yeah, tending clones.
Yep.
All right, Steve.
Not a bad
Do we
theory.
have any questions for the Dear Babby segment?
Yeah, we did have questions for the Dear Babby segment, and then I didn't have them up. Like
There was one in particular.
It's a teaching hospital, folks.
Right. There was one in particular, that was seasonal to help people with their holiday family get-togethers.
Oh, okay. Yes. Dear, I'm just going to go from memory here. I don't have it up in front of me. But Dear Babby, they call them the high holidays. What pointers can you give me on being high in front of my family? We will address this when we come back.
Ew.
How to handle
memories.
the holidays.
Don't
come back.
trip with your family.
Don't trip with your family.
That's what I'd say.
You're listening to Freedom Feens. So much truth, it hurts.
Hey, there's some Squiggles from Death Clocks, and you are listening to the Freedoms Fiends on the radios, and I guess it says worms now, so there you go.
tired of those old Freedom Feens buttons? Well, the Freedom Feens have new button designs.
As always, it's only $10 for 10 buttons, and you'll get these nifty designs. By sheep, for sheep, on sheep.
State speech is hate speech.
2 designs for Guns and Weed, the road to freedom.
3 designs for Fiend Phone.
Pipcot no gov.
A Freedom Feens worms button.
And ask me about my worms.
Go to freedomfeens.com and click on the link at the top that says buttons.
And now they're bigger buttons.
They used to be 1 1/4 inch, and now they're 1 3/4 inch. Dan, they're bigger buttons.
What does freedom mean? Tune in to LRN.FM to find out. LRN.FM is the Liberty Radio Network, a collection of live talk radio and podcasts, all coming from a principled pro-liberty perspective. LRN.FM show hosts aren't left, right, or conspiracy kooks. You can tune in 24/7 to LRN.FM via your phone, computer, satellite, and more. Listen free anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
I think it is too, and I don't buy the, I think anybody has a right to fly any flag they want, but I've hated that, what's it called? The racist flag?
Confederate.
The Confederate flag. I've hated that my whole life. I've just thought it was ridiculous.
Flags are dumb,
They're really dumb.
Well,
and that one's
and
particularly
also,
dumb,
Speaking as an Lincolnist, it's extremely dumb to be like, oh, well, we're flagging this flag because we hate Lincoln. Yeah, you hate someone that never existed. All right?
No, but you know what? Yeah, but I've been a vendor at a gun show in Wyoming, which is a really, really, really white state. When two black dudes came into the gun show and went around the whole thing, I don't know if they bought anything, but it's noteworthy. Like, everyone looked at them so much that, like, this is not imaginary. This lady's not imagining the racism. I was at a gun show as a vendor watching 2 black guys walk around a gun show in Casper, Wyoming, and a lot of people stared at them. They were like, I mean, it might have been curiosity more than anything, but they didn't blend in like they would in California.
Well, somebody needs to have a more modern style gun show that's more.
No, they need
inviting,
to have the guns. No, they need to have the guns and weed show.
That's guns there. And weed show.
Yeah.
Hello, like why hasn't this happened yet? Which brings us to the segment where we left off before the break. We got to cover. We have a listener question we have to address. Steve, can you recap that for us?
Segue.
Yeah. So, dear Babby, what are some tips for being around my family during these high holidays?
And this is a tough question. Basically, people need to know. How do they go home and hang around with their family while using something like marijuana, perhaps? So, I understand this, and I'm not supposing to have any firsthand information, but I went right to the experts for this, and I went right to High Times. I've got 6 tips for being stoned at your family's holiday gathering. Okay, and I thought this was particularly good. Number 1, keep your eye on the prize. Basically, they're saying, hey, you got to go get the food. Just get your food, get through the line. Focus. Number 2, bring extra. Okay, because there's really nothing worse than running out. Okay, so bring extra. Bring some spare joints and excuse yourself whenever you can. If the family's
because you're 51, but they're going to put you at the kids' table anyway.
Right. Well, we'll get to that later. Hang on.
17, 18-year-old cousin. Yeah.
Well, I'll jump ahead, and one of the solutions is hang out with the kids. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not bad. Number 3, identify your allies. Okay. Now I think this is good. An ally, a family member and/or family friend who will be at said holiday party and is down to get stoned. Okay. So an ally can also be a family member who will drink the most and not judge you for your choices. Okay. Great. Now, this is practical. Number 4, go easy on the booze. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Right? Because that's when really people get into problems. They combine their weed and their alcohol. Like that.
They start telling some truths. Yep.
Don't trip.
It could go bad. Number 5, hang out with the kids. Now, the last one is pretty good, and this takes a little bit of homework, but prepare responses ahead of time, okay? Because it's going to be the same questions, So,
what are you doing with your life?
Yeah,
are you
have
tripping?
your answers.
Is your mother
pre-ready.
melting?
Right. Are you still dating Johnny? Are you getting worried
Still
about
dating
this?
that sumo wrestler?
Why is your face on fire?
Are my pants on fire? You're a mate. Tell me.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought this could be particularly
Pants on
helpful
fire.
to the Fiend community who's going to be going home for Christmas or whatever wintertime solstice-based holiday they celebrate, and this could really come in handy.
I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my Feens.
Nice. I got to say something real quick. You sent me this ISIS in Wyoming, FBI says yes article.
Yep.
I didn't read it, but I'm looking at the picture at the top of it. The picture at the top of it is a SWAT team going into a house that looks like it's in Wyoming. That's all they want, is to be able to do that.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's all they need.
In Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the government went around shooting sheep in Wyoming because they had to convince people there was a toxic nerve gas leak. They were like, oh, those people don't like the government much. We have to
but in Wyoming, the sheep shoot back.
Yeah, they do. Last mass shooting here was over sheep 110 years ago.
And the sheep won.
The sheep won.
Election results to prove it.
Good show, y'all.